What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another Empire Garage episode. This is another continuation of the CB650 Cafe Racer projects. Last video you saw us cut, chop, weld. If you remember, the custom frame was not finished in terms of the hoop, so that's what we're going to do today. But off camera, I did kind of just roughly mock up the standard bike, since that was already finished in terms of the hoop. I threw on the spoked wheels that I picked up, the front forks that are not lowered yet, and just mocked up the tank. And I think it looks pretty good. This is what it looks like. So as you see, my main concern with the original wheels were first they were Comstars, so they looked really ugly. And then it was a 19 and 16 rear. So I'm doing a 19 front, 18 rear. These wheels come off another bike, a CB650, a little bigger, a little faster and whatnot. I believe the fronts come off a CB650, but another year, another submodel. So that, let's see. That is what she looks like. The front needs to be lowered just to match how low the rear is. The rear actually might be a little too low. So there's got to be some type of balancing going on there. That is not for today. Today, we are trying to do the hoop for the custom frame. So remember, this frame was all hacked up, many different pieces. It's been sitting for a while. Rusted a little bit because we washed the car, so that's nothing, that's just surface rust. But what I did now is put the rear swing arm on. If you remember, the swing arm kind of tells us where the center of the wheel is, and that tells us where I need to drop or cut the rear of the frame, because that is where the hoop will sit. So I'm about to do that right now, mock up, tape some things up, and then we're gonna get ahead and cut, grind, and hopefully weld tonight. That is it. Shada is changing oil on the AMG. But yeah, I wanted to show you this. I didn't think I was going to show you guys what this looked like, but that's what it looks like. A little more detail in this whole thing is I picked up another rear 18-inch spoked wheel, but they're really hard to find. And the one I picked up actually has, I might as well just show you. So this one is rear disc brake. The other ones are drum. So with a rear disc brake, that involves rear caliper, rear caliper bracket, oil reservoir, and all that stuff. So I think the standard bike is going to get the disc brake. This wheel with the drum brake is going to move over to the custom frame. So that is not what it's going to look like in terms of that bike. That's going to come over here. The front end is going to stay like that. Let me show you something cool. There's going to be no gauges on this bike. All we have are the lights, and in terms of info, in terms of how fast we're going, and RPMs, I have a little sneaky trick up my sleeve. I hope it works. I think it's going to be really cool, really unique. That's for another video, but here's a little tease of what this is going to look like. Again, this needs to lower. We're not even near wiring and whatnot. When I'm finished with that, in terms of welding, the next step for both bikes is to make the tray where all the electric components will live. So that's like the fuses, the relays, the batteries, all that's going to be underneath the seats. So that's going to be the next major video. Might even be in this video, it depends on how much I need to film in this mini project here, but stay tuned, enjoy the video, and we'll see you hopefully when this is cut up. All right, so basically after measuring where the swing arm comes up and lines, I think I'm just going to cut literally where this black piece stops. So I'm gonna cut here, around, and I think what I'm gonna do this time is kind of just cut on both sides so that this can kind of just slide in, and that way I can weld on the edges here, and that'll give it more support. We'll see. We're gonna start cutting here and go from there. It's off. Alright guys, so rear end is off. Next is to just mock up the hoop. And as you can see, the hoop is a tiny bit too wide. So, like a hair too wide. So I think I'm just gonna bang it a few times with a hammer and it should be good enough. And then I'm gonna just figure out, like, I might do a cut on the angle here, because the other bike I just went straight here and now I have a huge hole, and I could fill it up, but it's just going to require more work. And this might be a little nicer if I angle this here on both sides. Obviously I have to grind this down, but that looks pretty good to me. So let's hammer this and then see if it fits. You okay? So like I said, Shade is changing the oil on the AMG.
Shut up.
Have you gotten to the bolt yet?
I can't find it.
Alright guys, it's all mocked up. It fit perfectly. I just had to hammer it a few little times and it went right in. Obviously I have to push it in a little more to close that gap. But all we're going to do next is just make sure everything is perfectly lined up with the swing arm in terms of rotation, and then a couple tack welds, and then fill in all of that with welds. You saw that I ended up just cutting this off because this guy starts to bend right here, so it wouldn't have made sense for it to come out. I'm gonna have to figure out some way to close these holes. Same thing for the other bike. Not worried about that. So for now, clean up, tack weld, and then finish the final weld. Okay everyone, we are ready to get in some tack welds, and then we'll slowly fill in each side. Easy as that, very straightforward. Shada, close your eyes. So everything has been welded up on the 81 CB650 custom frame, just like the 79 standard frame. Obviously need to fill in some of these low areas and whatnot, clean it up, but structurally the hoop has been welded on. Next, it is kind of late, so I don't want to make too much grinding noise, so that's, cleaning up is not gonna happen tonight. I figured I would move on to just mocking up this frame as I did with that frame. So remember, I mentioned that we picked up an CB750 Super Sport rear 18-inch spoked rim. As you can see, it is a disc brake rear. Both these bikes came with 16-inch rears with drum brakes, and they were not spoked. They were really ugly, so hence the whole swap to spoked wheels. So we're gonna do on both bikes 19-inch fronts and 18-inch rears. Now one of the bikes will still contain that rear drum brake, and I figured with this being here, might as well try to figure out how to convert it to a disc brake, just for the cool factor of it. Not really, racing the bikes or anything. I don't really care for the difference in power, stopping power, in terms of going from a drum to a disc. So to be able to make this work, you need to have a rear caliper, right? So I picked up two styles from the CB750s. One, the caliper is built in with where it attaches to the hub, and then the other one is a separate caliper that bolts on just like a front would to the caliper bracket. Obviously they're gonna need the reservoir and then like a little master cylinder built into one, and then the way to it engages is via a pedal. So that I picked up on eBay. I picked up that on eBay. Now, talking about swing arms, the drum brake swing arms have a bracket. Let's see if I can show you, or an arm that comes from the bottom, attaches to the drum brake or the external of the drum brake, just to keep it in place. This is where the pedal actually engages the two drum pads, but to hold it in place, there's a bar at the bottom with these swing arms. For the calipers, these sit upright, so there's an arm that attaches to the top, that arm right there. And the way that arm attaches to the swing arm means it needs to attach to the top of the swing arm, not the bottom. So we picked up a 750 swing arm and extra arm, so that will be going on with this whole setup. Moving on from there, this is the CB650 custom swing arm. This is the 750 again. You could tell, if you match up where the bolts go, how short this one is in terms of where the suspension attaches. So this is about an inch more in, so you're not gonna have that rake. It's gonna be more upright. Is that going to change the way the bike rides? Yes, but I'm building these more for an occasional drive here and there. I'm not worried about that change in geometry, so we are going to be using this shorter arm with that whole disc setup. Now the question is, which frame do I want that on? Which frame do I want the rear disc on? And I think I'm gonna be doing it on the 79. So right now I need to swap over that rear 18-inch drum wheel and hub over to this frame. Figure out if all of this fits in terms of aligning a wheel for that frame. I grabbed the front forks that I'll be attaching to this, and then the other 19-inch front that I'll be attaching to this. So right now I'm gonna try to mock up both bikes together, just to get an idea of where things are lining up, what I need to do. Obviously the next major step would be to again, clean all of these welds up, fill in some of these low spots that we've created from segmenting this whole, because remember, this is like a Frankenstein. It's got the 550 rear, and, you know, it's a mess. So I need to clean that up, and obviously it has to be super smooth, just like the original frame here, for it to be able to look good when you powder coat. So we'll be doing that today. The next video will probably be me cleaning up both frames and making the electrics tray for both. For now, I wanna mock things up and, you know, see how things look. If it looks just as good as this, I'll be happy. All right, guys, so it's been a long night. We have both bikes mocked up the way I think I like them, in terms of what wheels go where, what tanks go where, what swing arm goes where. So again, these are just a bunch of pieces from a different bikes. We got the 81, we got the 79 here. As you can see, I threw on the 18-inch spoke to rim on the back of the 79, the one with the disc brake. So basically, there's a spacer on both sides of these wheels. Instead of a spacer, you use the actual bracket that's thick at the bottom, the bracket that holds the caliper. That's what you use when it's a disc brake wheel. So we have the 750 short swing arm. This frame was already flat, all we did was add the hoop. This tank, I believe, is from a 750. This came with the 81 when I bought it. The guy kind of tried to do a cafe look. I don't think this is original. I like this one on this tank just because I have a little unique trick or plan I plan to do with the cap here. The original 79 tank is there on the 81, and I need to play around with how, you know, remember this one, we couldn't get it exactly flat. It used to come down there, so this is the best I could do, have that little curve. I think it looks good. I just want the tank to kind of continue a certain line. So maybe have the tank dip down a tiny bit, somehow raise the front or lower the rear of the tank. I think lowering the rear might be a little easier. There's just a tab there that I need to maybe manipulate and bend down, bend up so that it can kind of fall down. Or I can throw that tank back on, because that tank sits pretty flush on that frame. And then that tank sits flush on this frame, but I don't know, this tank just seems a little boring to me. And again, the 81 was kind of like the half-ass job cafe, and this was supposed to be the primary cafe, even though, sorry, I'm like stepping on things, even though both of them are coming out to be really nice. I just love the way they're looking with the spoked wheels and the simplified frames. Both front forks need to be lowered. We need to get tires on all four wheels. I kind of want a chunkier and more classic tire. Still need to do research on what sizes I can go with. But that is, later. Next step is, again, I repeated this a bunch of times, to make an electric tray for both bikes. I think what I'm gonna have to do is maybe mock something up with cardboard and then just simply transfer that over to like 1/16 inch plate, stainless steel plate, and cut it out. I believe because of the height I have on both bikes in terms of where the seat will be, because the seat's gonna have to cover this hump here, right? So if the seat sits here and comes up, at least in this section, that's a good, if you count the bottom of the tube here, that's a good 2.5 inches, maybe even 3 inches at one point. So I don't think I have to make a tray that comes down, which is A, easier not to do that. B, it's gonna look really good when you look through this empty triangle here. Some people don't like it. I think that'll make the bike just look a lot more lighter. Same thing on this one. If this is the tank I end up using, we have about 2 inches of space here, and then maybe do like a hump, so maybe the battery can actually sit in the back. So again, I don't need to have any tray that's deeper than or lower than what these rails are. So why I'm explaining that is because when I do cut out the plate from the cardboard cutout, I think I could just weld literally along the edge, or maybe make a couple tabs and screw it in. I'm really happy with how it's turning out. Everything looks perfectly even and straight. Yeah, that looks good. All right, guys, peace out. Stay tuned for the next episode. Again, we'll probably do some more cutting, welding, whatever is needed and whatever I have time and energy for. It all depends on the time of the day. I can't be making too much noise here as we have neighbors that live above and on the sides of us. But yeah, thank you for watching. This should be episode 7, I believe. Maybe episode 8. I don't know where I'm going to line this one up. But stay tuned. Please like, subscribe, comment, share. Follow us on Instagram at Empire Garage. Shada and I have many projects to come besides the bikes. You've already seen the 4Runner get lifted. You've seen the introduction of the FJ62. The AMG is about done, just a few finishing touches. I know a lot of you have been asking about that, but we have another project. Might be too early for that, so stay tuned. But we have another project, and it's another V8, so stay tuned. Peace.